Are we free to break those stereotypes? Are we free to make the changes? These are all the questions up in the air for us.
Breaking those stereotypes and breaking those identities. So one of the things that we are also saying at Institute for Inclusion is let's embrace the common humanity.
Hello everyone. Happy to be reaching out to you in this space. I'm Lalita Iyer, and I live in Bangalore. I've been in the field of facilitation, applied behavioral science now for a couple of decades, and getting more and more interested in exploring and understanding diversity, inclusion, exclusion, homogeneity, all those aspects, the binaries of it. So it's been a wonderful journey for me to own what is within myself and be with others as they explore where we are the same and where we are different. Both are important. We are so busy in doing things that we hardly take a pause to see what we are revealing about our biases, about our assumptions, and how this impacts what we want to do and how we want to be in this world. Over the last 2 decades, I've been working with groups, with individuals about how they feel and what drives their actions and their choices. I have also been deeply examining my own beliefs, my assumption, and my choices. The more I see of it, the more I realize that the spontaneous decisions we make are often based on assumptions about others, assumptions about our own selves. And that comes in the way of being fully present to what is happening around us. And these assumptions, these spontaneous choices we make have implications from very large issues like climate change to everyday situations like arguments with a loved one or a road rage incident or being a passerby when something else is happening around you. So when Siddharth got in touch with me about setting up IFI, Institute for Inclusion, it seemed the right time. And I jumped at the opportunity to be part of this initiative. I think it is so important and so needed in our times. And I'm very glad to be able to be part of this process of building this initiative. And I'm really looking forward to breaking boundaries, where I hope that we will all discover more about ourselves and others. And in breaking the boundaries within ourselves, within our own minds, we become available to others in a world that is more compassionate, more caring, and more accepting of all of us.
So I met Lalita. I remember the first time I met you in the facilitators, how to facilitate workshop that you did with ISABS, I think in 2019. It was a 2-day workshop. That's the first time I remember sharing space with you, connecting with you. And from that time itself, I was kind of admiring you and really liking. One thing that stayed with me at that time, I remember it was like a passing comment, but it had a profound impact on me. Like the workshop was in a shared space, and we had to bring our own lunch, if I'm remembering correctly. No, I think on one day a basic lunch was arranged, and you said something like that if someone's need is that prominent, they will take care of themselves. So that kind of has always stayed with me. How I, as a rescuer, how I would kind of assume others' needs and make it my own. And so that was very liberating for me to kind of hear that, yeah, that people are adult and they do take care of their needs. So that stayed with me. After that, I experienced you during my phase B, week 1, which was very difficult for me. But I'm grateful for that difficulty, that phase. A lot of learning there. Yeah, and ever since, I think we have been sharing few spaces within ISAPS. So when this idea came to my mind, one of the person that I was thinking that I really wanted to be part of was definitely you. And I think you are the second person whom I reached out for this. Yeah, so very, very grateful and happy that you are part of this new initiative. Looking forward to your guidance and co-creation in this entire new endeavor where we bring T groups, semi-structured T groups and inclusion as the concept together and co-create a container that is safe for everyone to explore their inner realm and create a more compassionate and caring world, as you just said. Yeah.
Thank you, Siddharth. I felt very good when you called me and shared this idea because it had a kind of new energy. And I think I just loaded you with my thoughts and suggestions and advice. I don't know how much of it you needed or otherwise, but I was in full form giving you both wanted and unwanted suggestions. I think what I enjoy about this IFI is that it is still a fairly open space where we are not stuck with any particular format and we are free to bring in all aspects of whatever is relevant for us. And I suppose that is the spirit of inclusion, that everything finds its place. And we respect and accept everything that comes. So what I find different is the willingness to go beyond rigid structures. When you say semi-structure, it's neither semi nor structure. So the loosening of certain tightly held assumptions or maybe built on experience, certain beliefs that this thing works and this thing doesn't work. So that openness to trying, which we are offering ourselves, and we hope we will take to those of you who want to join us in Breaking Boundaries, the event we are now planning. I think that is very exciting for me, that it is not just T-group facilitation, it's not just social justice that I'm passionate about. It's not just about self-exploration. It's about all these things and how they all fit together and how all of them are necessary and none of them standalone is enough. So how did you come up with this idea of breaking boundaries?
So one thing that I very deeply realized in the entire field of social justice, activism, as well as coaching and doing my own therapy work, is that therapists and coaches often hide behind their questions, and activists are always looking outside for change. So I kind of realized a need for a space where we are in between, where we are also looking at ourselves and at the same time pushing boundaries and doing activism for social justice. So that's where the idea for inclusion came, and kind of a marriage of both self-work as well as challenging societal norms and pushing those norms. So that's where the idea of breaking boundaries germinated and started. Yeah. And I mean, I'm called to ask you right now, like, what has been your experience of T group or semi-structured T groups, and maybe from there we could build. I'm just like, this is a genuine curiosity right now, in the here and now.
When I started attending T groups, I was very aware of my identity as a woman. And I was, actively involved in feminist groups in Hyderabad at that time and continue to be. So at that time, it was always about what others in my lab described as my gender. They would say, you just need a little something and you're off on your gender trip or your gender chip on the shoulder. And that made me realize that I'm very one-sided in the way I understand situations, relationships, context. It made me more alive to my own, the barriers I'm creating and the boundaries I'm setting for myself. which makes it difficult for others to relate to me as a human. Human to human interactions are always filtered through the gender lens or the feminist lens. And I also began to understand feminist lens itself in a very broader way. It was not just man woman, but feminist politics is about identity and about power within systems, within societies,
Yeah.
and the power dynamics and questioning status quo in power dynamics is what feminism truly is about.
Yeah.
I think there I found the T group as a very important opportunity for me to learn and grow. And that's why I passionately believe that it is necessary. I'm, trained in economics. So I always look for necessary and sufficient conditions. I can't just stay with what is necessary. So while T group is necessary, it is not sufficient to really explore the systemic implications of the biases we carry. In the T group, we own biases, we confront them, we work with each other, we feel what the bias is doing to us deep within. So that is a very powerful motive for change. The jamming in itself started even when we were looking at the themes. All of us in our work get called upon to work with different groups of people. Sometimes it's empowering women, sometimes it is DEI, and sometimes it is leadership development. And then suddenly we are called because, an organization had a serious posh complaint and then they want to do something about it, quote unquote. How do people talk about inclusion, exclusion? What about people with special needs? Are we doing enough to include them? Are we recognizing neurodiversity? Many words are around. And in the public domain, there are increasingly disturbing incidents. The pressures on students to get that 100% marks, which in turn seems to corrupt the entire system of examination, marking, grading, and what those grades actually mean or don't mean. Excessive violence against communities, against women, even simple things like, neighbors fighting, neighboring states fighting over water, so many things that are disturbing, simply because there is another which I externalize and I want to fight against. So when we looked at those questions which keep coming up repeatedly in our work, the most frequent ones, one is, as a man, how am I dealing with the way women are changing today? The world is not patriarchal as it was in my father's time. Even I cringe at some of the things that happen, even though I have introjected patriarchy. As a woman, I am no longer content with just being at home and giving care. I want my space as well as my freedom to be a woman as I'm working. Just as every male colleague has a space and has the freedom to be a man as he is working. And I see around me that there are some leaders who manage to strike this balance. I would like to be like them. I would like to learn what makes them go there. And I also see around me that families are no longer what they are. We can no longer take any family relationship for granted. Siblings, children, parents, spouses, partners, and the family can be very different from what it was before. And yet, all of us need the safety of that one close space where we can be fully ourselves. All these are always at play, whichever group we are working with. And they get reflected, whether it is a lecture on citizenship or whether it is a T group, the whole range. So that is how we thought of these 4 themes coming together, and the boundaries between these themes have to be broken. They cannot be seen as a theme alone. They are interrelated, and I'm sure there are many more themes, but we thought we'd make a start with these 4.
So the first lab is men in modern world. The second lab is women at workplace. The third lab is modern family, choosing or having diverse family choices. And the fourth lab is being an inclusive leader. So I completely resonate with all the identities that you brought. And one more thing, the fourth lab of the inclusive leader. So I just want to elaborate on that also. I shared one of the video on how inclusion, exclusion played out in me, how I come from the Saurashtra region of Gujarat, and how kind of I was excluding others. So that kind of inspired also that fourth lab, how I have to actively and consciously take the stance of being inclusive in all the context that I want to be. That kind of inspire, and that's the need of the hour. What I'm realizing, especially in the social justice realm, where I'm constantly thinking if I'm being inclusive enough or not. If when I'm called that I was not inclusive, if I'm open enough and humble enough to look within and acknowledge that. So that is what also inspired the fourth offering, the inclusive leader. We are also in the process of creating a psychometric test around that, and hopefully it will materialize sometime in future. Yeah, and basically what we want to convey through that is that inclusion is a stance that a leader must have. And now there are enough research that proves that inclusiveness is the best motivator in any team, no matter, even if it is not a diverse, let's say, if it's a team of all men, even there is so much diversity of thought, diversity of pedigree, diversity of caste, region, etc. So if all those people are feeling welcomed and included in that group, is the best motivator for the team. So even if there isn't a visible diversity, inclusiveness is something that is always there at play. Yeah, and I would love to know your thoughts as well on this. So yeah, the four labs, the four programs are diverse in themselves, and at the same time there is a lot of overlap in them. We realized one, there aren't any programs that we came across for men to come together and explore what are the stereotypes, biases that they face. So that lab was definitely required and much needed in today's time. The second thing, the lab on women, a lot of workshops that keep happening for women, but they happen in silos where only women come together and explore what are the skills they need to develop, etc. For the their empowerment or pushing themselves, moving in the career ahead. But a lab of women happening along with another lab of men happening together, this is something that we never found. The third lab, of course, of modern family, that is something which I deeply connect with. Some of the angst that I have, some of the resentment that I carry, and some of the shame that I had to overcome in terms of defining my identity of family person. So that was something that came from there. And the fourth, being an inclusive leader, how can we consciously take the stance of being inclusive? Yeah, create more inclusive spaces around us. So that's how all the four labs came together. And feel free to disagree if there's anything that, if not for the shoot, we could also.
If we are talking about diversity, I think it's important to
Yeah,
share disagreements also.
yeah, exactly.
But I can't think of any.
Sure. Just an invitation that just came in my mind.
The name Breaking Boundaries emerged from our jamming. We were playing around with names, with possibilities, and we realized that each of these themes is usually handled as a standalone. And yet, when you start talking about one, the conversation invariably moves to the other. If a woman is talking about her life in the workplace, she talks about how there was an inclusive leader who gave her an opportunity in her early career. If you take Sheryl Sandberg, for instance, she talks about it in leaning in very evocative terms. So if you're talking about inclusive leadership, sooner or later you come to owning identities, and you also come to how the person has emotional depth and stability which is available for others, the presence that the inclusive leader brings. And very often this presence is linked to the family that he or she has built for themselves. And in today's workplace, we are well aware that gendered identity is a spectrum. It is not a binary. And families which are constructed only on the notion of a binary gender identity are no longer the truth for many people. We experience this, we see this, and yet we don't talk about it directly. All these realities keep popping up at us. And today's family, even if you take the classic heterosexual family, has changed in the last 30 years. Multi-generational family today is not eating and from the same kitchen and sleeping in the same hall. Today's generational family lives in an apartment complex where each nuclear family occupies one flat, and they all get together for various common needs. So the joint family is itself a different kind of joint family in today's world. The nuclear family is no longer about we are two, ours two. You know, the classic picture of the 60s and 70s of a man and a woman and a girl and a boy that used to be the advertisement for family planning. We have families with one child, with no child, with multiracial children because parents adopt. So many things are happening in the way even a nuclear family is constructed. So when you see pictures of a family like Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, always struck by the courage that they had to adopt children from so many different racial identities. So all these boundaries are breaking all around us. Boundaries of what is a family, or boundaries of what is a workspace. With work from home, the home is no longer the office and the office is no longer the home. And physical boundaries, what children see parents doing at work. Earlier you would see, the girl cooking and the boy flying aeroplanes or whatever. Today children's games are very different, I notice. Because children notice and imitate what is happening within their family. So the contemporary family is very different from what it was. And we all carry a sense of discomfort with the family we are creating because it is no longer what we thought it should have been when we were growing up. Are we free to break those stereotypes? Are we free to make the changes that suit our life today? These are all the questions up in the air for us.
So what resonated deeply with me was breaking those stereotypes and breaking those identities. So one of the things that we are also saying at Institute for Inclusion is let's embrace the common humanity that all of us share beyond the identity of men, women, beyond the identity of traditional family or new family. So that's what I think one of the things that deeply resonates with me as well, that how do we see the common humanity, common humanness of the person in front of me. So that's why the name Breaking Boundary deeply inspires me.
And when we use the term breaking boundaries, I also see how these issues, which are not so openly talked about, they suddenly break through and become big in our everyday life. We think that we are in organizations which are, commercial. Like we do a particular task to earn a particular profit, to pay salaries and so on. But suddenly there is a question, how many of you here know Kannada? Suddenly there is a regulation that your name board should be 60% Kannada and 40% other languages. So suddenly this regionalism, this angst about what is happening to my identity, my local identity, it peeps into our lives. We don't expect it, and when it does, we feel resentful. Hey, why are they doing this? What is wrong with them? I'm okay to be what I am. How does it matter to them? That it matters that, Bombay should become Mumbai and Kolkata is Kolkata, not Calcutta. All these things matter. Why do they matter? And why is it such a big thing that a statue falls off a pedestal? That a prime minister apologizes for it? It's all about the deep meanings that each of these incidents carry for us, is the feelings that they evoke within us, and the way those feelings are ignored till there is a big incident, or a very small incident blows up into a big explosion. And this is because these boundaries are so tightly held, and on an everyday basis, in an easy way, if we are not breaking them, we wait for a volcano to erupt. So the pressure builds up and there is something that breaks out. And this is why we are calling our space Breaking Boundaries, so that we can safely break some of these boundaries and learn to break them as we are in the moment, in day-to-day situations.